Welcome to Nightfall Narrative, where we explore the stories that unfold after dark. It was 10 seconds to midnight on New Year's Eve. The house was buzzing with joy, 100 voices counting down together, a mix of hope and drunken optimism. 10 champagne flutes were in the air. 9 couples were pulling each other close. 8, I stood by myself in the archway of the living room I'd spent a week decorating. My friends said I was just being paranoid, that Liam had probably just stepped out for some air. 7, but the air inside was fine. 6. And this didn't feel like paranoia. This was a cold, sharp feeling twisting in my gut. 5, my heart was pounding against my ribs, a frantic drumbeat against the music's bass. 4, I scanned the crowd of laughing faces, and every single one was a stranger. 3, where was he? 2, my friends smiled at me, a mix of pity and concern in their eyes. 1. And then my phone buzzed. It wasn't the flood of Happy New Year texts I expected. It was one single notification. A message from a friend who'd left an hour earlier. I looked down, and in one photo, my entire marriage just evaporated. The numbers, the shouting, the laughter, it all faded into a dull, distant roar. The party was over, and so were we. To really get the depth of that devastation, you have to understand the height I fell from. My life with Liam wasn't just good, it felt like a masterpiece of domestic bliss. Or so I made myself believe. We'd been together for 10 years, married for 7. We were that asterisk couple. The one whose Instagram was a highlight reel of romantic trips, cozy nights in, and endless posts about how much we adored each other. A couple of our friends would look at us and say, "I just want a love like yours." I wanted it too. I honestly thought I had it. We met in our last year of college. He was the charming, confident editor of the campus newspaper. I was the quiet, ambitious art history major who wrote a scathing review of a campus gallery show. He published it, but only if I agreed to let him debate it with me over coffee. That coffee turned into dinner, and dinner turned into a decade. He was my first everything, the architect of my comfort zone, the man who held the blueprint to my heart. We built our life on shared dreams and inside jokes. We renovated our first house together, hands covered in paint, hearts full of plans. We adopted a rescue dog, a scruffy terrier mix we named Buster. We hosted dinner parties where our friends would watch us in the kitchen, finishing each other's sentences, moving like two halves of a whole, and marvel at how in sync we were. Our New Year's Eve party was the crown jewel of our year. It was our tradition, something we'd hosted since we first moved in together. It started small, with just a few friends, but it grew into this massive, can't-miss event for everyone we knew. And I loved it. I loved the planning, the decorating, the cooking. I loved seeing our home filled with light and laughter. It was a celebration, not just of the new year, but of the life we had built. This year was supposed to be the biggest yet. Liam had just gotten a huge promotion, and I'd landed a major commission for a series of paintings. We were on top of the world. But looking back, the cracks had started to show months before. They were tiny at first, hairline fractures I could easily ignore. He started working later. "Big project at work," he'd say, and I'd play the part of the supportive wife, keeping a hot meal waiting for him, no matter what time he got home. Then there was his phone. It used to be an open book, left on the kitchen counter or the nightstand. Suddenly, it was attached to his hip, clutched in his hand, placed screen down on tables, angled away from me when he texted. One night, I saw him smile at a message, a soft, private smile that I hadn't seen him give me in a long time. When I asked who he was texting, he flinched. "Just Dave from accounting," he said, too quickly. logistics for the merger. My friends, my wonderful, well-meaning friends, just helped me rationalize it. When I'd voice a tiny bit of doubt, they'd shut it down with logic. Babe, he just got a promotion. Of course, he's stressed and working more. You're being paranoid. Every couple gets a little distant sometimes. It's normal. You and Liam, you're rock solid. Don't go creating problems. And I listened. I wanted to believe them. The alternative was just unthinkable, so I doubled down. I became the perfect wife. I planned more date nights. I suggested a weekend getaway. I tried to plaster over the cracks with my own effort, convinced that if I just tried hard enough, I could fix it. I told myself this was just a phase, a rough patch. I ignored the knot in my stomach that tightened every time he said he was going out with the guys, and came home smelling faintly of a perfume that wasn't mine. I dismissed my own intuition as insecurity. It's a special kind of gaslighting. Gee, when you do it to yourself. The day of the party was a joyful, frantic blur. I spent the morning with flowers, the afternoon setting up a champagne bar, and the evening perfecting the playlist. Every little detail was a testament to my love for him, for us, for the life I was desperate to hold on to. String lights twinkled in the backyard, candles flickered everywhere, and the house smelled of pine, cinnamon, and the roast beef that was slow cooking in the oven. I was conducting a symphony of perfection. Liam was in top form, charming and attentive, greeting guests at the door with a huge laugh, his arm always around my waist. He'd kiss my temple and whisper, "You've outdone yourself, my love, it's perfect." And for a few hours, I let myself believe him. I let the music, the champagne, and the warmth of his hand on my back just soothe me. We were Liam and Anna, the golden couple. Everything was fine. The last time I clearly saw him was around 11:30 p.m. He was by the fireplace talking to my boss. He caught my eye across the room and gave me that old, familiar smile, the one that used to make my knees weak. He raised his glass in a silent toast. I smiled back, my heart aching with both love and suspicion. He shook my boss's hand and then headed towards the back of the house, mouthing "Be right back" to me before disappearing into the crowd. Be right back. 5 minutes passed, then 10. I started looking for him, casually at first. I refilled an appetizer tray in the kitchen, scanning for his dark gray sweater. Not there. I slipped out the back door, thinking maybe he was getting some air. The patio was crowded, but Liam wasn't there. The knot in my stomach was back, and it was tighter. My second search was more frantic. I pushed through dancing people, a hostess smile plastered on my face while my eyes darted around, searching. I checked our bedroom. Empty. His office. Empty. I ran into my best friend, Chloe, in the upstairs hallway. "Have you seen Liam?" I asked, trying to keep my voice light. "I think I saw him heading toward the back garden a while ago," she said, her brow furrowed. "Is everything okay, Anna? You look pale." "I'm fine," I lied. "Just tired. It's exhausting being the hostess with the mostest." She bought it, or at least pretended to. I hurried back downstairs, my heels clicking a panicked rhythm on the floor. Then the countdown began. A roar rose from the living room. 10, 9, 8. I was standing in the doorway, a ghost at my own party. People were grabbing their loved ones, their faces lit up. Every happy couple was a fresh stab of pain. Where was he? How could he miss this? Our tradition was our New Year's kiss right at midnight, a promise for another year together. And he was gone. This wasn't paranoia anymore. It was a scream in my head. He wasn't just getting air. He hadn't just gotten stuck in a conversation. He had disappeared. He had left me. 3, 2, 1, Happy New Year. The house erupted. Corks popped, people cheered, and 100 tiny celebrations exploded at once. My phone buzzed in my hand, a sharp vibration against my cold skin. It wasn't the flood of group texts I was expecting. It was a single message from my friend Sarah, who'd left early, complaining of a headache. My hands were shaking as I opened it. The text was simple, and it chilled me to the bone. Anna, I am so sorry. I went to grab a late-night coffee at that little cafe on Elm Street. I saw Liam. I didn't know if I should send this, but I could not. You deserve to know. And below her text was the photo. The world went silent. The music, the shouting, the laughter, it all just stopped. All I could hear was a high-pitched ringing in my ears. The photo was horribly, undeniably clear. It was taken through the cafe window, a little blurry around the edges, but the two people inside were in sharp focus. There was Liam. He was wearing his dark gray sweater, the one I'd bought him for Christmas just last week. He was sitting in a booth, leaning close to a woman. And it wasn't just any woman. It was Jessica, a junior associate from his firm. A woman I'd met at company picnics, a woman I'd made small talk with, a woman whose wedding I had attended with Liam just a year ago. She was married. In the photo, Liam's hand was on her cheek, his thumb stroking her skin. Her head was tilted up to his, her eyes closed, a blissful smile on her face. His expression was one I knew so well, but it hadn't been aimed at me for months, maybe years. It was a look of intense, focused adoration. They weren't just talking. They were in their own world, a world that was happening 2 blocks away while I stood in our home at a party I had thrown for us. The background of the photo was just as damning. On the table between them were 2 coffee cups and a small, gift-wrapped box. A tiny box. The kind that holds jewelry. It was wrapped in the same silver and gold star-spangled paper I had used. For Liam's Christmas presents, I had a whole roll of it in our closet. The time stamp on the photo was 11:58 p.m. He hadn't stepped out for air. He had left his own party, left me, to go give another woman a New Year's gift. My body reacted before my mind did. A wave of nausea hit me so hard I had to grip the doorframe to stay standing. My hands started to shake, and a cold sweat broke out on my forehead. This was the physical feeling of betrayal. This wasn't paranoia. This was proof. Cold, hard, digital proof. Every lie, every late night, every secret text, it all snapped into focus. I wasn't crazy. I was right. The festive party, the twinkling lights, the happy faces, it all felt like a cruel joke, a mocking backdrop to my life imploding. He came back about 15 minutes later. 15 minutes into the new year, 15 minutes into my new, shattered reality. He strolled back into the living room, a picture of casual charm. He was flushed from the cold air, his eyes bright. He was looking for me. When he saw me in the archway, his face broke into a huge, fake smile. "There you are. Happy New Year, my love." He boomed over the music, moving to wrap his arms around me. I took a step back. The smile on his lips faltered. His eyes went from bright to confused. "Anna, what's wrong? You look like you've seen a ghost." "Where were you, Liam?" My voice was unnervingly calm, a flat line in the middle of all the chaos. "I just stepped out for some air," he said, the lie slipping out so easily. "It was getting stuffy. I just walked around the block." "The block," I repeated, my voice still quiet. "Which block?" His confusion started to harden into irritation. "What is this, an interrogation? I went for a walk. Can we not do this right now? Our guests are here." He waved a hand around the room as if the 100 smiling people were his shield. "I don't want to do this in front of our guests," I said, my voice dropping even lower. "Come with me." I turned and walked towards his office, the one dark, quiet room at the end of the hall. I didn't look back. I knew he was following. I could feel his panic trailing behind me. I closed the office door, and the party became a distant thrum. I turned on the desk lamp, which cast a harsh glow on the room. He stood by the door with his arms crossed, totally on the defensive. "Okay, what is this all about?" he whispered harshly. "You're embarrassing me, Anna." "Am I?" I let out a short, bitter laugh. "Am I the one embarrassing you?" I held up my phone, my hand surprisingly steady. "I asked you where you were. You told me you were walking around the block." "I was." "Really? Because this looks a lot like the Café on Elm Street." I turned the phone so he could see the screen. The change was instant. It was like watching a building collapse in slow motion. The color drained from his face, leaving it a pasty gray. His jaw went slack, his mouth opening and closing with no sound coming out. His wide, shocked eyes were glued to the photo of him and Jessica. The confidence, the irritation, it all just evaporated. All that was left was pure panic. That's not." He stammered, looking from the phone to my face, searching for what? An escape. "Don't," I said, my voice like ice. "Don't you dare say it's not what it looks like. Don't you dare try to lie to me again. Not tonight." He sank onto the edge of his desk and put his head in his hands. He didn't have to say anything. His guilt was screaming. And then came the regret. But it wasn't the remorse of a man who was sorry for the pain he'd caused. It was the selfish regret of a man who'd just been caught. The regret of losing control, of having his secret world blown open. "Anna, I'm so sorry," he whispered into his hands. "It was a mistake, a stupid, stupid mistake." "A mistake?" I echoed, the word tasting like acid. "Leaving your own New Year's party to give your married coworker a gift is a mistake. What about the late nights for the past 6 months? Were those mistakes? The secret texts, the lies, the way you flinch when I touch you? Are those all just a series of mistakes, Liam?" He looked up at me, his eyes swimming with tears. They were real tears, but they were tears for himself. "I didn't mean for this to happen. It got out of control." "It got out of control," I repeated, my calmness finally cracking, replaced by cold fury. "You controlled it every time you lied to my face. You controlled it every time you chose her over me. You made a choice, Liam, hundreds of them. And tonight, you made another one. You chose to be with her on New Year's Eve, our night." I looked at him, this man I had loved for a decade, this stranger sitting in the ruins of our life, and I felt nothing. Just a profound, chilling emptiness. The love was gone, burned away by his betrayal. All that was left was what I had to do next. "I want you to leave," I said. His head snapped up. "What, Anna, no, plea. See, we can fix this. I'll end it. I'll do anything." "You can't fix this," I said, the finality of the words settling in my own soul. "This is broken. You broke it. Now get out of my house." He just stared at me, his face a mess of regret and desperation. But there was nothing left to plead for. The photo was a wrecking ball, and my marriage was now just rubble at my feet. The only New Year's resolution for me now is to start clearing it all away. Before we delve into the devastating aftermath, thank you for joining us here at Nightfall Narrative. If these stories of truth and consequence resonate with you, please consider subscribing. It helps us continue to bring these narratives to light. Now, Let's explore what happens when the party's over and the real fallout begins. He left. He actually packed a small bag, hands trembling, and walked out the back door while the party was still going on. I walked back into the living room, a ghost at my own party, and for the next hour I played the part. I smiled. I laughed. I cleared empty glasses and wished people a happy new year. Every smile felt like a crack in my face. I was running on pure adrenaline and shock. My friend Chloe found me in the kitchen at 2 a.m., long after the last guest had left, just staring at a mountain of dirty dishes, my body shaking. She didn't say anything. She just wrapped her arms around me, and I finally broke, sobbing into her shoulder among the wreckage of the party and my life. New Year's Day was its own special kind of hell. The silence in the house was deafening. The festive decorations, the half-empty bottles, the confetti on the floor, it all looked cheap and mocking in the morning light. I spent the day in a fog, walking from room to room, touching the objects from our shared life. The photos on the mantle, the books on our shelves, and his coffee mug. It was like walking through a museum of a dead relationship. Then the detective mode kicked in. That obsessive need to know everything. Finding out about the affair wasn't the end, it was the start of a new kind of torture. I opened his laptop, which he'd left behind. His password was, ironically, our anniversary. It took me less than 5 minutes to find it all, an entire universe of his betrayal. There were emails with Jessica going back 8 months, and they weren't just about logistics. They were filled with "I miss yous" and "I can't wait to see yous" and details about their time together. He had taken her to the little Italian restaurant where he first told me he loved me. He had bought her a necklace for her birthday, the same month he told me we couldn't afford a vacation. And so the consequences began. The first thing I had to accept was that the last year of my life had been a complete lie. Every "I love you," every shared meal, it was all tainted. Then came telling my parents and hearing my mother's gasp and the way her voice broke when she said, "Oh, Anna, not Liam." The shame was a physical weight, even though I hadn't done anything wrong. There was the financial mess, joint accounts, the mortgage, and our investments. Untangling our lives was like messy, painful surgery. Then there were our friends. Our social circle wasn't mine or his, it was asterisk ours asterisk. And people chose sides. Some friends rallied around me fiercely. Others offered weak platitudes like, "Well, there are two sides to every story," which just made me feel worse. I lost people I thought would be in my life forever. And the house, our home, became a prison of memories. I had to sell it. I couldn't breathe there anymore. The physical toll was brutal. I couldn't eat or sleep. I lost 15 pounds in a month. I'd wake up in the middle of the night, my heart racing, seeing that photo again and again. Betrayal trauma is real. It's not just a broken heart, your entire sense of safety is shattered. It felt like a low-grade PTSD. I kept asking myself, why? Was I not pretty enough, not smart enough, not exciting enough? That self-blame is a beast, and it took months of therapy to even start to tame it. And it just kept coming. Packing his things into boxes, seeing him with lawyers, watching him refuse to make eye contact. Finding out from a mutual friend that he and Jessica had moved in together just 2 months after he left. Knowing he hadn't just ended our marriage, he had seamlessly stepped into a new life that was waiting for him all along. I found out later that about 31% of marriages survive an affair, but ours was never a candidate for survival. It had been dead for months. I was just the last one to know. For a long time, anger was the only thing that kept me going. I had all these revenge fantasies about exposing them, making them feel even a fraction of my pain. But my therapist said something that really stuck with me. Holding on to anger is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. My healing couldn't begin as long as I was still tied to him, even with hatred. That's when my new beginning really started. It wasn't going to be about getting revenge on him. It was going to be about reclaiming myself. The real revenge, the only kind that mattered, was living a full, happy life without him. A life where I didn't have to second-guess everything, where I didn't have to fight for affection, where I didn't have to ignore the screaming voice of my own gut. I started small. I started painting again, but for myself, not for commissions. I filled canvases with all the rage and sorrow I couldn't put into words. I reconnected with old friends, the ones who knew me before I was Liam's wife. I started hiking and found a strange peace in just being exhausted and surrounded by nature. Slowly, painfully, I was rebuilding my identity outside of the we I had lived in for a decade. The pain didn't just vanish. There were still days when a song on the radio would send me spiraling, but the good days started to outnumber the bad. I learned to trust myself again, to listen to that gut feeling I had silenced for so long. I learned that I was resilient, that I was so much stronger than I ever thought. That one photo on New Year's Eve was the most painful thing I have ever experienced. It was a brutal, merciless end to the life I thought I wanted. But strangely, it was also a gift. It was the undeniable truth that set me free. It forced me to see that the perfect picture I was clinging to was just an illusion. The real masterpiece is the life I'm building now from the rubble, a life that's messy and imperfect, but it's honest. And it is, for the first time in a very long time, entirely my own. That photo ended my marriage, but it started my real life. It was a demolition that cleared the way for something new to be built. Breaking points can become turning points, and endings can be disguised as the most beautiful beginnings. The path to healing isn't easy, but it is always possible. The greatest resolution you can ever make is to choose yourself and to honor your own truth, even when it's the hardest thing you'll ever have to do. If my story resonated with you, if you've ever had to find strength in the ashes of a life you once knew, please share it in the comments below. Here at Nightfall Narrative, we believe in the power of sharing our stories. Don't forget to subscribe for more narratives about endings and the new beginnings they create. Thank you for listening.